The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, we are just going to give it a couple of minutes before we get the presentation and the demo started, just so people can log in. Okay, everybody's been able to log in. Thank you for joining us today, and good afternoon for the Sage HR webinar. My name is Maldos Mohammed, and joining me today is Ajay Patel from Sage HR, who's the customer success consultant and will be demoing the solution. Some housekeeping rules. Use the questions panel on the right side to ask questions. We'll answer those questions at the end of the webinar, and we will follow up with any questions that we didn't get time to answer within 3 days. And you'll also receive a recording of the webinar that you can share with your colleagues if they could not attend. Today's agenda is simply how the world has changed, why Sage HR. AJ will do the Sage HR demo, speak to the payroll portion of it. We'll answer any questions and provide answers as they were put in through the webinar. We're going to have the first poll right now, so if you can participate, that would be appreciated. The poll is, what are you currently using for HR management? Wait till the poll gets tabulated. Here's the second question on the poll. What's your biggest HR pain point? Okay, wait for the information to be found. We all know that our world of work has changed. On the left panel, you see what represents the employee's world, which in many cases seems to be remote, requires flexibility, has higher expectations from the organization. Employees are more savvy and tech-enabled. And on the right side, we have the HR department or the accounting department in some cases, who are always busy preparing payroll, entering information on Excel spreadsheets, managing employees' requests, whether that be for overtime or scheduling their holidays. So everything is working in a different new world right now. So that is the reality. Let's go to the next slide. The current state of HR, at the bottom, you will see that there is a reference to a Gartner study, which is a great study that shows how the current state of HR is in most organizations or in this environment. 65% of employees say that the pandemic has made them rethink the place that they work, should have in their lives. This is changing the mindset, and it's contributing to the attrition trends now known as the Great Resignation. And it means compensation is an employee's only motive to stay on. And on the right, you will see that it shows that about 60% of self-described themselves are significantly concerned about their employee turnover, but that doesn't begin to capture the extent of today's talent change. The remote and hybrid working setups have expanded the options for employees to go beyond basic economic incentives to move jobs. We know that companies will need to plan for a year-over-year turnover rate for at least 50 to 70% higher than it is accustomed to. Time to fill a role has increased by at least 18% since before the pandemic, but half of the people who get a job offer are considering at least 2 other offers at the same time. The lack of critical skills is evident before the pandemic. It's not going to go away. The total number of skills required for a single job is increasing by 6% annually. Building critical skills and competency is top priority for a lot of companies. Sage HR is a cloud-based solution that can help the HR managers communicate with employees through performance management and being connected with them. On the next slide, you will see how the new challenges for HR professionals are working out to be, and you need tools to make it easy and cost-effective manner, in a manner for starting from onboarding, managing performance, and even offboarding employees. How do people maintain employee relations in companies and be in constant contact with them? You want to keep them engaged and motivated, and to help employees be successful while working remotely. The flex hours for a lot of employees is used to optimize productivity. This is where really Sage HR comes in as a tool in your toolbox for an HR manager or a professional to be able to work with it. Enough of my slides. I'm going to hand it over now to AJ to start the demo.
Great, thanks for that, Mo. Thanks for the background and the insights that you shared around the HR and what organizations are dealing with and coming from as we navigate through COVID, as well as just in general, the whole Great Resignation is quite an interesting topic that's come up quite a bit over the last couple of years. So again, thanks for that insight and background. Quick introduction to myself, AJ Patel here at Sage, customer success consultant, and I work with our existing customers as well as our newer customers to get them onboarded to our cloud-based application called Sage HR. It's in my interest here to be able to collect feedback, but also share with our customers new enhancements and features that are coming out. With that, I am involved with onboarding as well, and that's where we work with our customers, new customers, directly to understand what some of their current pain points have been, how they are performing various tasks and how that can be applied and performed and achieved as well as automated within Sage HR. So during the course of this session, we're certainly going to be looking at a live demonstration of Sage HR as well as a payroll solution. And I welcome questions throughout this session. So feel free to type them into the chat. We'll get those reviewed. And if not answered during this session, then we'll certainly follow up in follow-up for our participants. For those of you who may not be joining this session, you'll certainly have access to this recording, and I welcome you to take the opportunity to share that with the rest of your colleagues as well. And with that, we'll take a quick look at results from the poll. The first question we had asked was, what are you currently using for HR management? And taking a look at the results, not uncommon. Several of our customers or potentials that are looking for a solution are coming off of pen and paper or spreadsheets as well as emails, and that's probably definitely our biggest competitor out there for someone to adapt and use technology to help automate some of those tasks. So to summarize that, what is the solution many of you are using? I do see a large majority, outstanding of course, are using Excel-based spreadsheets to manage the HR solution. With that, the next question, what is your biggest HR pain point? And in those options that we had presented, those actually broke down to various modules within Sage HR: performance management, workforce management, expenses, recruitment, and I see timesheet and shift management scheduling is the biggest one as a pain point, and that kind of stems from our organizations using pen and paper or spreadsheets and not having sort of an automation on that. And so as part of our demonstration today, we'll dive deeper into that live demonstration to show us some of that functionality of Sage HR for timesheets as well as shift management. And again, thanks for everyone for participating in those survey poll results as well. So with that, I have a few slides here before we dive in. To set the stage here, what is Sage HR? Well, it is a cloud-based solution for managing people as well as streamlining and automating a lot of those HR processes that you may have today, and also giving the opportunity for you to create engaging and rewarding experiences with your employees. This might be the first time you're seeing Sage HR. This is a screenshot of our browser-based application, fully cloud, and also there's a opportunity for your employees as well as your managers and staff to be able to install a mobile app, which is native to both Android as well as Apple OS. We'll take a look at some of that functionality as well. Now, why Sage HR? I have about 4 bullets here just to recap and summarize that. As I mentioned, Sage HR is a cloud-based solution that allows organizations to engage, retain, and get the very best out of your people. I'll repeat myself a few times around this whole idea of engaging your staff, being able for them to collaborate. It's a very important thing. And we have some instances of how you can achieve that using Sage HR. It'll also allow the workforce to have visibility, collaboration, as I mentioned, and access to that information. We'll talk about certain elements of data and conveying information from the employee to the management or the team, as well as being able to update information as well. Essentially empowering your staff to take on some of those tasks. And on that note of tasks, we'll talk about automation, those repetitive tasks for whether it's onboarding, offboarding, or alerts or notifications, messages, approval requests for time off, as well as expenses perhaps, being able to have all that triggered email, as well as tasks, and have that easily visible for individuals to report on, as well as have it in your face within the application as well. So we'll touch on that as part of our demonstration as well. And last but not least here, using Sage HR to help develop and maintain that healthy corporate culture, again, enabling you to retain your top talent and reach your goals. And there's a few ways you can achieve that using performance management as a component of our application, as well as simply engaging your staff as well. And so with that, what you see on the screen here is a breakdown of our modules within Sage HR. We're going to start off by talking about our core HR functionality, being able to share documents with your staff, have your staff take advantage of e-signature capabilities to be able to sign policies or documents and have that reported back on, being able to send a document to multiple individuals to sign, or have a document sent out to to your core staff and have them be able to sign it. Have it attached to their employee record, being able to track assets that you might have, salary and compensation, being able to track that and the trend as it changes during the course of the years. And with that, we have a separate module called leave management, which is essentially being able to track the number of days or balances on vacation and sick days that might be accrued, being able for your staff to be able to see their individual balances on any policies that you've set up, as well as for them to submit requests with any rules and restrictions that you've applied for that, as well as being able to have that submitted for approval requests that a manager or an administrator might be able to then either approve or decline and have that reported back into the application, all while triggering automated emails and alerts as well. So that's actually essentially our core application. We've included leave management and core functionality. We're going to go deeper into core functionality because there's quite a few things in there as well, which also includes automation, building your own automation to use our user-friendly interface to trigger notifications and alerts as well. So that's the base platform, core and leave management. On top of that, customers may choose to add on particular modules around performance management, being able to get your staff engaged fully to set up one-on-one meetings, have 360 reviews, provide surveys or feedback responses from your staff as well, and a lot of rich functionality around that. And it will be my interest to be able to share and talk a bit about that in deeper as well. And then a couple add-on modules that are optional based on interests that organization might have. So we did talk about the poll results indicating shift scheduling was one of the pain points, and we do have rich functionality around that, as well as timesheets, being able to track the hours, maybe preload them, have staff go in and enter in additional hours over time against your rules and how you configure that to perform, and being able to submit that for an approval request and eventually get paid out as well. And building on that, a few other modules, expense management, being able to use your mobile device as well as the web browser to upload a receipt and have it submitted for approval to be paid out. Recruitment management, an end-to-end management system where you can have a web page created for multiple job postings that you may have, embed those on your website, as well as have applicants navigate there, populate any information that you're flagging that they need to submit, as well as upload their resume and cover letters or other information, have that all funneled back into Sage HR, where then your staff, your management team with various permissions will be able to review the candidates, score them, rate them, rank them, as well as provide some internal commentary on them, and eventually click on a magic button to hire them, which will then bring them into your application so that you can now onboard them using our automation as well. So there's some functionality around recruitment as well as payroll. And so we're excited to announce that we've launched a payroll solution, fully cloud-based, that is fully connected with our Sage HR application. So we'll touch on that towards the end of our session as well. And with that, it is my pleasure to go in live to a demonstration of Sage HR. So what you're going to see in a moment here is my instance of Sage HR. I am the CEO and owner of the Overlook Hotel here. So keep in mind, anything you see on the screen is fully opened up. As an owner of the application, I have access to all the modules. I've enabled everything, and part of that can be certainly configured as to what you may wish for your employees to see. Perhaps they log in and can only see their data. They have limits on what they can modify. They can submit data such as leave requests as well, and that's all part of our configuration that we will talk through as well. Set up what you see on the screen here. I currently am logged in and accessing my dashboard. On the screen here at the top, we have a quick add navigation option here to quickly go in and add in a time off request. As you can see here, I can go in and for myself add in a leave request, perhaps a holiday. I can see my balance for this particular policy that's been set up, and keep in mind, of course, as an organization, you are able to set up any policy, call it whatever you like, have a specific setup for it in our configuration, and be able to define which employees have access to those leave requests as well. I'll go ahead and put in a holiday request, 1 day, multiple days, and again, you have configuration options on how you wish to submit those and what rules can be applied to that. I'll go ahead and submit 1 day request, and if everything is okay, it's been submitted. Now the manager of this employee would get a notification by email as well as a task assigned to their dashboard that they need to go in and either approve or decline that. What's great is with that email notification, it's instant, it's in their inbox, and they can click on a button, whether they're on their mobile device or on the web browser through their email, and navigate into the solution and simply approve it. The essential aspect here is we want to be able for the managers to easily see the data and submit it and approve it. So not holding anything back for those employees to get their requests put in. You can see in my dashboard as the owner of the application as well as the CEO, I have submitted it and I might be able to review and approve that. Of course, in configuration, you can auto approve it for those who need auto approval requests, and put in rules that say how many days can they request off, as well as identify what's the lead time on that request. You might say for sick days, of course, there's no lead time required, but for holiday, we might wish to instill 2-week lead time on that request, and certainly you can configure that to meet your particular needs as well. So going back into the application here, I have my dashboard, various tasks. I have some outstanding expense claims that have been submitted that I need to review. Performance management has required me to set up some performance reviews for my staff, as well as other tasks as well. I also have enabled an option for time clocking in or clocking out of the application, which will preload some times into my timesheets. Again, you can pick and choose which employees might require that access to enable that. And you can do that through the web browser multiple times, as well as on the mobile device as well. As I scroll down, a lot of other functionality. Again, I've enabled a lot. As an employee, I can see my balances, whether it's hours or days for all those leave policies that have been set up. And again, you're empowering your staff, whether it's through the mobile app or the web browser, to be able to see that data and submit it as well. And this dashboard here, you can modify it to, of course, move things that are more relevant to your needs at the top or bottom. Building on that, off to the side, I have access to the various modules that I've enabled for this employee. Of course, for your specific employees, you might choose to turn on various modules or restrict their access as well. I drill into this one, I'll go into a calendar view, and we're going to kind of focus on our core application to start off with, of what functionality you'll be able to take advantage of. There's a particular calendar you might wish to share with your staff. You can define whether or not all employees can see this calendar, or only employees within specific teams that they're a member of. I've chosen to be able to see all my employees. I can see who potentially will be out of the office for vacation, who has some blackout periods, and of course you can hide it so that you don't actually see why they're off, but you do have that option in our configuration. And I'll take that moment to convey that within our configuration settings, we have introduced a lot of options, and this is functionality over the years that have been built up based on customer feedback as well. And with that, as part of our onboarding, we provide completely free onboarding services. It's typically working with myself or my colleagues through online sessions such as this. Typically, I like to say it's about 3 one-hour sessions where we walk through your current processes, identify how you might be able to configure those within Sage HR, and of course, go live and launch that application within your organization as well. Any of those add-on modules, we have additional sessions as well. So there is, again, no charges extra for onboarding, as well as product support as well. And some of you may have noticed we have this little help button or chat icon in the bottom corner. And what this allows you to do is access over 450 of our online support articles that navigate you through the specific topics or modules within the application, give you step-by-step details, as well as videos on how you might wish to configure or set up various aspects of the application. And with that, if you're interested in chatting with someone live, you certainly have that ability here. And I will mention that we do have North American-based bilingual speaking chat support that's available. And building on that, myself as customer success consultant, I work with our customers one-on-one directly to ensure we've captured any of their feedback, as well as communicating the upcoming enhancements and changes that we are introducing within the application. And happy to say that we tend to send out updates to the application almost on a monthly basis, multiple times, in fact, over the course of a month. And part of my communications to my customers is also sharing what's in the pipeline and what's upcoming. So certainly customers can take advantage of that live chat as well. Going back into our application, we have our calendar here. You can sync that with your personal calendars as well. So after you start over every day, you'll certainly be able to see who's in the office or who's out. I recently had a question the other day about how can we manage calendars with people working overseas or in different countries as well. And we do have the ability for you to set up different holidays that will be loaded into the system across different provinces, states, as well as regions around the world. And you'd be able to clearly see which holidays are applicable to those team members based on the region that they're employed. So a great way for you to be able to identify who will be in office or not. Building on that, a component around announcements, which I love to demonstrate here as well. Essentially a bulletin board for you to be able to share and communicate with your staff. Again, building that engagement with your employees, giving the opportunity for them to get an email notification when a new posting has been made, having them be able to access that detail, as well as respond using emojis, engaging them further, or also post in some comments and responding back to that that announcement. Again, they can tag people, they can respond through emojis, as well as respond. And what I love about this is you also have that ability to see who's actually gone in and seen this announcement, in addition to being able to trigger it out by email as well. So there's something around announcements that we'll talk about there. And just before I move on a little deeper into our application here, we have also a view of our organization. So as you can see here, you have the opportunity to upload headshots for your employees. They can do that as well, visually see their roles. And again, you can configure that to hide if you don't wish for employees to see other employees. What you have here is presented as an automated org chart. And core functionality out of Sage HR, you expect to be able to see how your organization is set up and where everyone sits in. With that, you may have seen on our calendar, you have the ability to set up groups or teams, locations, and define the dynamic of how your employees are organized within your organization as well. So with that, what I like to do is go into one of my employees here. As an admin or a manager, I have the ability to quickly pull up a record here by searching for it, or of course, clicking on one of these headshots here as well. And I love to go into my record here for Annie, who's one of my star performers, star employees, who's certainly up for a review and as well as a raise, in fact. On the side here, we have an additional column tying specifically to this employee. Now, some of this data will be visible to the employee, and some of it is more on the manager side or the admin side as well. Of course, you expect some typical information around employee details, what their title is, who their manager is, what team do they belong to, potentially what location within the organization they belong to. As you can see here, what holiday group, if you have various holiday groups across the world, where they belong to, and you have that information all tied here as well. Much of this information you can certainly export into reports if desired as well. By the way, you can log in as your employees as well to see exactly what access level that they have, and great for auditing and reviewing on the administrator side as well. With that, additional details on personal information. And here's where you're, again, empowering your staff to be able to go in and update their information. One of the typical questions I tend to get is, all right, well, if an employee goes in, updates their mailing information, how will I know? And with that, you could set up part of our automation, an alert to be triggered or a task to be triggered and assigned to someone, such that if someone updates this particular field, whether it's the management or admins or the employee, trigger a notification to a specific individual, perhaps someone in payroll or on the HR side as well. And with that, you can certainly see there's a lot of fields available here. You do have the ability to add custom fields as well, whether it's a drop-down field or a text field, and you have the ability to flag whether or not those are fields visible to the employees, or if it's restricted and mainly only for admins or managers. That being said, as I drill into additional functionality tied to our core application, a private area for notes or documents to be uploaded to, not visible by that employee. Great way to have all that information tied there. Any disciplinary content that needs to be uploaded or statements that need to be posted there, again, only visible by admins or managers, and you can configure which manager will be able to see that. With that said, we do have an area for documents that you would share with your employees. Great functionality here. You might upload a policy or content, share it with all your staff, and now they have the ability to go into their record and see what contents have been shared with them. You also have the ability to flag whether or not they should review the content and click on a button to approve that, yes, I've reviewed this detail, or chosen to decline and not accept having the contents approved by me. In addition to that, you do have the ability, as I mentioned, e-signable document, e-signature capability. So upload some content, specify where the signatures will go, date, any other fields of data that need to be populated, send it out from the system and send it to one or multiple individuals and identify through reporting who has actually signed that document. And of course, that's document once signed will get attached to the employee record and it'll always be there for your review as well. That aligns back to our onboarding automation that you may wish to set up as well. Someone starts on April the 1st. Well, 2 days in advance, we'd like to send this specific email asking them to bring certain things for day one. 5 days after their start date, perhaps other notifications need to be triggered out. A great one is, of course, a week or two in advance of a start date, you'll want IT to be aware, or someone in payroll as well as HR to know that this employee is starting on this date and someone needs to set up a laptop or someone needs to set up passwords for email as well. It's a great way to automate that entire onboarding process. And we have areas in the application that you can set that up. I'm constantly coming across interesting scenarios that customers have come to us and say, well, we do this, and very great tasks. And happy to say much of that can be set up within our application as well. As I drill into our application here, asset management, I mentioned that previously as part of our core functionality. Upload a spreadsheet of all your assets, be able to assign them to individuals, and of course, offboarding them. You'll want to retrieve that data as well, that information, that hardware as well, and you can log that within the application. That can be tied to the offboarding automation as well, alerting someone that there's physical assets that need to be returned X number of days before the employee's end date. And I talked about assets being able to import them, and of course you can import employees as well too. Take a simple spreadsheet, bring in their data, and also update them in bulk using spreadsheet capabilities. What you have here is just a quick look at tracking training that might be requested or required for your staff to be able to complete. And great opportunity, again, tying it back to the employee record. I can see there's an online security policy that's upcoming for this employee. You can go in and have your managers go in and approve or complete those, track the status, due dates, and set that all up and assign them to your staff. Or have your staff go in and flag that they'd like to do some training and submit them for approval by the management as well. In addition to that, you can set up various events for training. And in my case here, I've set up a first aid course, the first of the month for the next few months, the first Monday of the upcoming few months, and specify the number of tickets or spaces that are available, and have your staff actually go in and sign up for that too. You'll be able to run reports who signed up for them and eventually convert those to actual trainings that have been completed. So a great way to nurture and engage your staff as well. Emergency contact information, tasks, I think that's pretty straightforward. I'll skim through a few of these that are related specifically to our performance management add-on module. However, you do have the ability to track compensation, which might be their salary, their pay periods, and how much dollars are being paid out to them. Added additional compensations, whether it's bonuses or other incentives, and you have the ability to log that information here. And of course, see the monthly trend. And as I mentioned previously, Annie's up for a race, so I'll definitely be going in and having that conversation with that as well. And so that sets up our core functionality, part of our core functionality within SageHR for setup in the system. What I like to do now is go into our setup area to show off a little bit of the functionality and how, as part of our onboarding experience, we'll walk through with customers to set up some of the configuration and then dive right into shift scheduling, as well as our timesheet capability that was flagged as some of the pain points that customers on this conversation had. So with that, I'll click on this drop down here. And of course, as an employee, I'll be able to see my profile information similar to what Annie would have access to there. But in settings, which again is restricted to the administrators or individuals flagged to be admins of specific modules, you have access to the secondary column here where you can set up and configure your application. And I mentioned those 450 support articles. A lot of that outlines the detailed setup that you'd be able to do on your own should you wish to. But as I mentioned, onboarding is completely free and part of our service that we provide to our customers. So definitely look forward to working with customers to help get that configured and set up here. Taking a look at just one of our topics here on time off requests. So those policies that were available for staff to be able to take time off on. I've set up a bunch here, and we do preload several ones for our Canadian customers as well. You can always go in and adjust them to meet your needs, rename them, and as I mentioned, set up specific processes around how they're accrued as well as carried over. And just looking at one here, you can see you can set up a different policy name, put in some detail, identify if you're allocating hours or days. Are they allocated daily, 0.03 days every day given to this employee based on them actually working? Are they accrued monthly at the end of the month, quarterly, annually? A lot of rich, flexible opportunities to configure this to meet your particular needs. Reset, when does it start? Is this based on perhaps your fiscal year or on the start of the year? Identify how much can be carried over and when does it expire. Quite flexible on that as well. A lot of options here. And so again, part of our onboarding is to go through your current processes and outline how that can be set up within here. I'll just call out, there is the, of course, the years of service. So in my case here, additional 5 days for 5 years of service, additional 1 day on 7, and an additional day on 10. So a lot of rich functionality available simply on policies or leave management, being able to configure and set that up. So I hope that gives us some insights on how you can configure some of those options, and certainly you'll see those details available throughout the application as well. With that, just on our doing a quick time check here. We're just about 20 minutes before we'll wrap up the session. What I will do is take this opportunity to go into timesheets and shift scheduling. And I do encourage those questions to continue coming through. I see a few there, so we'll revisit those towards the end of our session as well. Looking at timesheets here, I did previously mention you have the ability to flag which employees have access to submit timesheets. And part of our configuration, you can certainly set up to hours get preloaded into their timesheets. Do they get auto submitted for someone in payroll to pick those up? Or does the employee have the ability to go in and actually adjust their hours, add those overtime? By the way, their leave that is submitted and approved will get automatically visible and added to the timesheets as well for any of the customers who wish to configure that as well. Again, as an administrator, I'm seeing all the timesheets available for the staff here, but you would, of course, expect those specific managers would be able to see their staff's timesheets and, of course, approve them once they've been submitted, or have individuals only have access to see their own timesheet information. For Delbert here, I see some, he's typically working 5 days a week with the weekends off, 9 to 6 p.m. with 1 hour break. And so a total of 8 hours are automatically added to his timesheet. And you can certainly differentiate which staff are full-time or part-time, which have certain working days and days off versus other groups within your organization. And you do have that capability to configure that to meet your specific needs as well. In my case here, let's say this individual did log in, log in a few hours in the evening on the weekend. I could go in and add that. Certainly in part of configuration, flag if it's overtime, if it's allowable, how many hours can be worked to a max, flag overtime based on a daily number of hours or submitted for the week, and all that rich reporting capabilities available to export as well. So on this example here, Delbert would go in and update his information. And in my case here, I've set this up as a monthly timesheet, but you could set it out weekly, semi-monthly, bi-weekly as well to help meet your particular payroll needs that you might have as well. So Delbert would have a button that says submit for approval. His manager would get a notification to say go in and actually approve or decline that. There's the opportunity also to deal with overtime hours, and you could figure this as to whether or not the employee is empowered to choose to get paid out on those overtime hours or bank them, or have the manager be the one that actually defines this when they go in and approve it. And of course, all while this is taking place, be able to notify the employee that yes, it's been approved or it's been updated and trigger that. So a lot of that automation could be done within this here. And that clock-in functionality is an option that you can enable as well. Again, clocking in multiple times using the dashboard widget that you can see in there, or using your mobile device as well. And that will preload that total hours that they work compared versus the contract hours. So a lot of rich functionality that's available here. I'm happy to say that we can certainly go into that deeper with any customers here that are interested in seeing that rich functionality as well. Taking a note on that, the other optional add-on is also shift scheduling, and a few ways to handle that. What I'll do here is just kind of walk through what you see on the screen. I have perhaps various team members belonging to various groups. I have housekeepers and receptionists, people working in the kitchen. Various shift templates could be set up in advance, working certain hours, AM hours, PM hours, or full day hours, define which groups of employees that those potentially belong to, and be able to go in and add those. So for my housekeeper here, I might choose to add a shift to that individual. Here's, of course, some of the potential shifts available for the role of that individual that I may wish to go in and add. And you can see that I put that in. Notice it's grayed out. It's not published or not live for the employee there. I can certainly go in and update that. I can take that shift, go ahead and span it and clone it across various other employees as well. Maybe the next day for this individual, I'll go in and I'm holding the shift key here. I can scroll down and add that to someone else, and very quickly, and that's actually a day off for that individual, very quickly I've gone in and started assigning shifts. As well, on the fly, you can go ahead and just create a shift, give it a name, set up its start and end dates, and save it. Go ahead and cancel that. And so this is the interface that a potential manager would go in to set up those shifts. You do have options on spinning this another way, where you might say, I'm going to, as a manager, create shifts, put them out on a table, virtual table, and have your employees log in and grab those shifts and assign themselves to take on those shifts as well. All the while, of course, notifying the manager that certain shifts have been picked up. In configuration, you can flag that if a person is assigned a shift and they submit time off during that day, you can turn that on or off. You can also force the requirement that someone must specify a replacement for them if they are putting in requests for time off on a day that they are assigned a shift. So a lot of flexibility on that configuration option. Now, this is me setting this up for perhaps this week ending on the 25th, but I'd like to clone that across one or more weeks. And actually, before I do that, I'll go ahead and publish this shift. And now I will notify those employees that these new shifts have been assigned to them and they're no longer grayed out. With that, I like what I see on the screen here, and I may wish to copy that schedule across multiple weeks or even just the next week, and I have that option here. Keep in mind, you can also do this on alternating weeks if desired as well. You just pick and choose those dates, and now you've set up your shifts. I'll go ahead and clone this, let's say a few weeks here. I'll skip one, put that in. And of course, define which are the employees that have access to time, to shift scheduling, and which employees you may wish to clone that for. I'll go ahead and apply it to all. At this point, of course, if there's any conflicts, you'll get notified of those as well. And so several shifts have been cloned over various weeks, and now I have those in the system as well. And employees can be empowered to also mark blackout periods when they don't want any shifts to be assigned to them, and that'll be visible for the shift manager to be able to see, so they don't get assigned to them as well. It's a lot of rich functionality around shift scheduling, but certainly welcome the opportunity for us to work with anyone on this call or viewing this recording directly with us to see if this can meet your particular needs and how you would be able to best implement that within your organization as well. Just looking at the time, we're at about the 15-minute mark towards the end of this session. What I will do at this point is introduce recruitment for us, the other additional module, and drill into performance management, just because that's an area that we're finding a lot of organizations are now understanding that there might be some benefits to how they can engage their employees as well. On the recruitment side, you can certainly, as I mentioned, set up various job postings and have people apply online directly to them. So you're not receiving emails with attachments and reviewing them. What you're getting is certainly an email notification that someone has just applied, but be able to have the candidates go directly online, apply online. They're not logging in, they're not accessing an interface within Sage HR to see the status of their application. What you would do, however, is, and I have a couple job postings here, drilling into one, and let's pull up that application page. So this is one of the job postings. It's hosted within our application, Sage HR, publicly visible. Should you wish to embed it on your website or share the link through social media or any other third-party sites, have that application form set up using our interface as well. Very, very simple interface to copy and paste text in or add content in there. Flag whatever information you want to collect from your candidates, flag what information should be uploaded, and have them apply directly. Once they've done that, their information will show up directly in the application, and now you can use the system to manage the pipeline of candidates. You can drag and drop them across. You can drill into any specific one, see the information they uploaded. I have Donovan Bailey here who uploaded a CV as well as a resume. See that information directly in the application, flag any of the information that was provided or add to that detail, track all the changes that were made in here, as well as put in some comments internally for your staff, tag them as well, identify a scorecard that you may wish to rate and rank that staff, that candidate as well. Great way to then have some metrics on how you wish to proceed with specific individuals that have applied. Add some tasks that you may wish to assign to the individual to complete before you move them on in the pipeline. All that email conversation can be managed throughout the throughout the record within Sage HR as well. And I didn't show it here, but you do have the ability to automate emails to be sent based on the stages that you've dragged and dropped them in within the pipeline management system. Be able to schedule interviews with the candidates for in person, online, and have all those email conversations managed within the application. And of course, assign tasks to team members who may wish to be assigned to them to review the candidates as well. So all that information is contained within Sage HR. And of course, I can go in and drag and drop and move them around. Just doing this here will trigger a notification that you'd be able to set up what is the content that gets triggered at the various stages as well. You can see some scores and ratings for your candidates there as well. And of course, all that information can be extracted and part of reports as well that you may wish to view offline or share with your colleagues as well. Great interfaces here for you to be able to essentially manage recruitment as well. With that, I'll take the opportunity to drill into our performance management and looking at the timestamp here. I'm going to try and wrap this up in a little bit and go into answering some of the questions that I see are coming in as well. So performance management, I love that because it's additional modules that you have access to. If I may, I'll go into our setup here in settings. You'll see that performance management opens up several different components, the ability, and those are optional. You can turn those on or on, but you do have the ability to flag whether or not you want to track goals or OKRs for your organization, employees, and teams as well. See how the individual OKRs and goals are aligning to the organization on a quarterly basis, annual basis, be able to report on that, set up one-to-one meetings and schedule those within the application. That'll actually build out an agenda for you to review, and we'll take a look at that in a moment with that individual. Capture feedback from surveys as well, initiate perhaps 360 reviews where individuals will rate themselves or rank themselves in on self-reviews, as well as capture feedback from other staff members on various criteria that you'd be able to set up as well. Be able to submit quick feedback. And while we're here, I'll just go ahead and submit some quick feedback for one of my staff. And this is where you'll be able to engage all your employees and kind of collaborate and give kudos to one another. And I mentioned Annie here. She's my star performer. Oops. I'll go in and send those kudos to Annie. You can configure these to be whatever you'd like, have your own icons there, and I've just submitted that feedback. Annie's going to get an email notification as well as a component visible on her dashboard, letting her know that someone has given her some kudos. Again, great way to engage your staff, and that is specifically the quick feedback opportunities within our performance management. Setting up development goals for your employees, as well as tracking competencies that you want them to be able to achieve to or have that they have attained, all part of that functionality around performance management. With that, if I go into Annie's record, which I've enabled all these modules on, I'd be able to see those additional components listed there, identify the OKRs that she's been assigned, rank and rate, see where they are, how they're performing, what's been completed, what's outstanding. On the fly, add another OKR or a goal, which you can configure the naming convention of on your end as well as I talked about the one-on-one meetings. So I'll go into that one for us. And I have one that's already somewhat completed here. I mentioned this will help build the agenda for that conversation to have with the employee, the manager, and the employee. They can go in and provide any details on here. I've also added a checklist, and you can, of course, go in and add any items that you'd like, making sure you've completed that part of the conversation to have with the employee, flag details on their performance review, and this could be based on that feedback or the survey that was sent out to staff, self-feedback, as well as peer review feedback as well. See the details around that, flag any of the OKRs, where they are, how they're trending, go in and actually update them during the conversation, track any of the upcoming OKRs that you want to add as well, flag the development goals, and these could be tracked against their OKRs as well. The detail around feedback to receive, see if that information was provided by other staff or flagged within that conversation you had as part of the one-on-one. See the detail around what the responses were versus the staff versus the individual as well. And that's, of course, the feedback opportunity there as well. I'll go back into our one-to-ones here. Again, building that conversation, driving the agenda for the conversation there. Any special notes that need to be added there. And at the end of it all, you'll be able to get some sign off done by the employee to confirm that this has been completed and agreed on. And that will actually generate a PDF summary, which gets attached to the employee record. And of course, that's where you'll have that conversation around compensation and benefits that the employee might now be entitled to or have. So a great way to, again, have that conversation with your employees. And that specific performance module adds on various components that you can enable and configure as well. One-to-one, competencies, goals or OKRs, development goals, feedback, and again, having all that information tied within the application there. So with that, just as we go towards wrapping up the session, I do want to make sure that I have some detail for us to talk about regarding payroll. So with that note, for some of our customers who might be using Sage 300, we do have a connector that sends information from Sage HR to Sage 300 Payroll, and it's quite well created. It allows that information to suggest that any new employees created in Sage HR will automatically appear in Sage 300 Payroll, as well as any of that data that's updated on the employee record will get synced automatically in the payroll. And that just ensures that someone on the payroll side will see all that information listed there. That's specifically our Sage 300 product. It's a separate product, and we do have that connector available for Sage HR to feed that data to Sage 300. Building on that, as I mentioned previously, we do have another cloud-based payroll solution. It's called Sage Business Cloud Payroll, and it's accessible through our website. As part of that functionality, you'd be able to harness what you have on the screen here is another instance of my Sage HR application, but have the ability to toggle on a payroll interface. And that's where you flag certain administrators for payroll. This is great. It's all built within the application and allows your staff now, if you subscribe to the payroll component, to be able to see their pay stub information here, generate the T4s, have that visible for your employees as well. And this is a dashboard component that they can see. They can actually go in and download the pay stubs, see the history, the trends on that as well. And of course, as I mentioned, have an interface to manage payroll. And I've just toggled into that. Seamlessly, I'm now accessing the cloud payroll solution. A lot of opportunity here to configure and set things up. Organizations have been able to meet the needs of a Canadian customer base as well, being able to set that up for their particular needs as well. Run your pay runs, set it up for different groups, different pay run schedules as well, whether it's weekly or monthly or semi-monthly, contractors versus employees as well, and have all that detail flagged within the application. This in itself would be a good 1 hour opportunity for us to discuss in detail how the payroll configuration is set up as well as it performs, and happy to have that conversation as part of our follow-up. So if you do see any interest on cloud payroll, our solution here, feel free to engage us on that conversation as well. And with that, before we move on to answering some questions, I'm going to throw on the screen another poll here. Around what is potentially your plan for looking at a new payroll solution. Certainly some interest from organizations, I hope, to get off of using pen and paper and spreadsheets and helping getting that automated within a cloud-based solutions such as Sage HR. So we'll give that a few more moments to get some responses submitted in. That's great. Thanks again for their responses on that. And with that, I'll take this opportunity to answer a few of the questions that I see have been coming in. Again, I want to thank everyone for submitting those throughout the conversation here as well. Key question on pricing. So just before I touch on pricing, I did mention there is no cost associated to implement the application, as well as the ongoing support or customer success conversations that we have as well. Pricing is broken down per employee, per module, per month. It's charged automatically against a credit card. You have the ability to upgrade modules or downgrade modules, add employees, remove employees at any time, and have those pricing reflected on the next month automatic charge. I encourage everyone to go into our webpage to get additional information on that. And I've just browsed here to our application, our website, sage.hr, where you can in fact go in and set up a free 30-day trial. No strings attached. You don't have to enter in your credit card there. And once you've done that, you'll have access to an application that you can configure for your particular needs. And feel free to engage myself through our follow-up as well to be able to have a one-on-one to figure out and determine how you might potentially get onboarded and what your particular challenges and needs are and how that can be set up within the application. We also clearly outline our pricing there, again, broken down per module, per month, per employee, and you can pick and choose which employees have access to specific modules as well. So that'll give you the opportunity to go in and directly set up a trial, as well as see the details around pricing there as well. And I see a question around email notifications. So the question is, do email notifications go out to managers when leave requests are submitted? And I think I did answer that previously. Yes, as soon as it's submitted, a manager would get notified, and you could set up whether it's other individuals that would want to be notified as well. And of course, who can action approving that request. The administrator always has access to do that, but you certainly want to have someone flagged as the key person to make that decision as well. Another question on banking days for vacation. Can it be done from 1 year to the next? And I also did answer that previously in that conversation. So yes, you could flag how many days or hours are carried over. When is the cutoff for them to be consumed before they get reset back? And certainly that's part of the automation that you'll want to be able to set up and configure within the application. Another question around employee performance. Yes, can it be done? That was a question that came in, and we did walk through that interface and functionality towards the end of the session. A question around implementation. How long does it take to get set up? So I mentioned earlier in the conversation, it's about 3 one-hour sessions we'd have online virtually to go through the current process that you might have in your organization and how you'd be able to configure that within Sage HR. So I like to say within those sessions, you'd have enough ability to get things set up and go live, launching it to your staff. Any of the additional modules that you might have subscribed to, you may wish to then, of course, have additional sessions with us. Again, no cost associated to implementation, onboarding, and training. So it's hard to say, but if you're looking at setting yourselves up with everything, certainly within a few weeks, you'd be able to get that set up. And it's just a matter of us coordinating on our schedules. And we do have team members available to get scheduled and onboarding our customers on that. So I think I do see a few other questions. What we're going to do is follow up by email to all the participants and have that conversation as well, answering those questions in depth. And again, any of the participants here or in follow-up, feel free to go and visit our webpage to sign up for a free trial, engage myself or my team on how you might wish to configure and set up the application to meet your particular needs. And it will be my pleasure to share any of the experiences from our customer base on how they've been able to succeed in launching that application there as well. And just to reiterate a couple of the next steps, feel free to go sign up for the trial, as well as book a product tour, and you'll have access to my calendar through setting up the trial to be able to work one-on-one with me to get a deeper dive session to help identify your particular needs. Well, with that, I want to take that opportunity just to thank everyone for joining the session, asking questions throughout, and I look forward to working with each of you as you potentially sign up for a trial and help meet particular challenges and needs that you might have, and show off how Sage HR can help meet those needs. With that, Mo, any
Thank
final thoughts
you,
on your end?
AJ. That was an amazing demo. As you said, you could spend another hour on payroll and a few more hours. But if people take an opportunity, it is a wholesome application. It covers every aspect of the HR function, and it is, as we say, for a price of cup of coffee, you can put an employee on the system. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, AJ, again, for an amazing demo. And if you have any questions, our contact information is right there. You can contact us, and we'll be more than happy to spend more time with you. Thanks.
That's great. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.